Hello YouTube, my name's Jason and this is Lineware. Today we are going to go over nested classes in Java. And the first thing you need to know about nested classes is they are made inside of the class. So you would basically do something like this. Class something. Well, it's got to be capitalized because you know we always make our classes capitalized. And then you would basically set the class. There are two types of classes in nested classes. You have a static nested class and you have a non-static nested class. The non-static nested class is commonly known as a inner class, and the difference in it is a non-nested class, non-static nested class, which is called an inner class, has access to other objects inside of the class itself. Whereas the static nested class does not. Also, it gives you range of the private access modifier and the protected access modifier. Whereas, if you remember, whenever you come outside, you can only have access to the default right here. And if you was to create another class, then you could have access to the public. But on the inner classes, you have access to all your access modifiers. There are many reasons why you can, why you should use nested classes. It is a way of logically grouping classes that are only used in one place. So basically, if it's only used with this class, then that's one good reason to use a nested class. So let's go ahead and delete that and make it just a normal class. And it also increases encapsulation. And if you remember, encapsulation is basically your restrictions, like your publics, your privates, and all that stuff. Say if I wanted to make this a private, I could actually let's say this was private, and then I could actually use a public class bingo inside of here, and it would still take everything from the private. Even though the private is only accessible by its class, well, this is located inside of its class, so therefore it can use everything inside of this private modifier. And that's one of the things about nested classes. Also, nested classes lead to more readable and maintainable code. So really, if this class is only usable by this class up here, then it is logical just to put this class inside of this class. That way it inherits from this class and can use the object from that class, correct? So, and another thing about encapsulation, you can write like private right here, private int x equals 35. Now this class right here actually has access to this private integer. So we can actually create the object beginner and go beginner and call this boogie or something, I don't know, and make it new beginner, and let's in it, and I misspelt beginner, and I gotta make that a construct, of course, and then I can actually just go boogie dot, and then I can make an X right here, and you actually have to do something like int y equals, and as you see, I don't get an error because it can actually call on the private objects. Whereas if I was to come outside the class and say class other and create the object beginner, I'll just copy this and change the name. Control C, Control V, and change the name to bat. Yeah, bat will be fine. And I said bat dot. Well, let's go ahead and create an integer z, and make that integer equal to bat dot x. And if you notice, I get an error on it because you can't use private integers outside of its class. And whereas this class is located inside of it, so it can actually use that private integer. And whereas for readability, well, you don't actually have to go searching for this class because it's right here inside of this class. So it makes it a lot more readable in that sense. So say we wanted to make an object and we wanted it to be something. I'm just going to go ahead and say doodle, well, we'll just use that, and make it equal to new something. And if you notice, all our syntax is right, but we still get an error. And the reason that is because we actually have to, well, if we make this static, it just goes away. That is one of the things about the nested classes. And if we took that static off of it, so let's go ahead and take the static off of it, we'd have to write something like, actually, before I go in deeper than that, just for syntax, not syntax, but for like other programmers, if you're going to create an object from an inner class, make sure you actually make it where it looks like it's from an inner class. And the way you do that is you would do this. You'd write beginner, because this is the outer class and this is the inner class, and it just makes them know something is an inner class whenever I created it. That way if they ever want to go back and look at your code, they don't have to go looking through a bunch of files or anything. All they have to do is scroll down a little bit and find the something class. Now let's go ahead and let's delete the static off of here. And if you notice, we get an error. And the reason we get an error is because if you're going to use this type of class, a non-static class, you actually have to create the beginner, a beginner object. And let's call this WAPA. And let's make it equal to a new beginner. And end it. And then you would have to come over here and say something like WAPA dot new beginner class, and then we just have to delete this part right here. And that's what you would have to do. But you would just go beginner dot, well, outer class, which is beginner, something, which is the inner class, the name of the object, then the name of an object of the outer class, dot new, and then you would write the constructor of the something class. And that's how you would create, well, declare the two objects of the static and the non-static inner class. One of the things you can also do with it is you can add the this keyword right here. And then come down here and make this private. You also have to remove this little bit right here. And the next step you would have to do is, because you can't create it like this inside of the main method, you have to come outside of it and create another method. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to create a public void bingo method. And let's go ahead and copy this right here and place it in here. And that's basically how you could do that also. And what it's doing, it's calling this, which is calling the beginner class, and then it's something, and then throwing the something constructor, which is right here. That's one other way you could do it, but you just can't create it in the main method like that. We don't need this anymore since we did that. And we don't need this anymore since we did that. Also, there's two more types of classes. They are called the local inner class and the anonymous inner class, and they are actually located inside of a method. So if we control X and delete that from right there and we put it right here, now we have and let me take that private off of it, and now we have what is called a local inner class. And you can also take this part right here, the name, off of it, and that right there is what you call a anonymous class. And if you remember, we had them little blocks, but those were outside of the class. That's what makes them different from this one, is that this one right here is unnamed and it is inside of a method, making it a inner class, anonymous inner. So let me go ahead and summarize it, and there's some things you need to know. Not all nested classes are inner classes. A static nested class is not an inner class. Only a inner non-static class is a class, a local class is a class, and an anonymous class is a class. That's all I'm going to teach in this tutorial. The next tutorial will involve enum types and annotations. But that's all I'm going to do in this tutorial today. See if you can't come up with a what I want you to do with this outer classes and inner classes. I want to see if you can create an algorithm. And all an algorithm is a mathematical process that produces results. Just in case you wanted to know what an algorithm was. But we're going to go over algorithms in depth, like in future tutorials. But see if you can't come up with your own algorithm to produce all the odd numbers from 1 to 100 by creating a inner class that actually uses the algorithm, and then call it through the outer class and make it produce all the odd numbers from 1 to 100 in your console. And that's all I'm going to go over for today. So thank you for watching. My name's Jason. This was Lineware. Please comment, rate, and subscribe, and have a great day.